The rent control policies will trickle through to homeowners. It will mean a shift in property tax burdens.
A new study released by the Fiscal Alliance Foundation finds that the proposed rent control ballot initiative in Massachusetts would significantly increase property taxes on homeowners across the Commonwealth. This consequence has gone largely unexamined in public debate, but carries serious financial implications for the 62% of Massachusetts households that own their homes. Tax policy expert Jared Walczak, who teamed up with the Foundation for a Prop 2.5 study, explains his findings on rent control.
So this new study looks at perhaps an unexpected consequence of rent control. For many homeowners, it's easy to think this isn't about me, that whatever else this does, it doesn't really affect a homeowner. But that's not true. It will mean a shift in property tax burdens. Homeowners will pay more. In fact, we estimate that the median single-family home would see a $312 per year tax increase under rent control. In some jurisdictions, it will be far higher than that. In some cities, you'll see significant tax increases. Now, this may seem counterintuitive, but it's worth walking through the mechanism. Fundamentally, rent control reduces the value of rental properties. The way that we assess properties for commercial use, for rent, for apartments, is essentially based on their income. So when rent control reduces their income flows, just mechanically, those properties are worth less. They are valued less on the property rolls. Over time, you also see a reduction because there's a deterioration of the property. This is something we see repeatedly with rent control across the country. Beyond that mechanical adjustment, you also just see that the properties become less valuable. And the quality of the community, especially in areas with dense rental concentrations, tends to decline. So all of this shifts the value. It reduces how much rental properties are worth. And that money has to come from somewhere. Massachusetts, like many states, uses a budget-based method where across the Commonwealth, you have jurisdictions setting the amount they need to raise. And then rates, the mill levy, is determined by how much is necessary to raise that amount. So if you're shrinking the share from rental properties, it has to go somewhere. It can go to commercial and industrial property, but there are some caps on that. There are limits on how much the burden can shift to them. They pay more in most jurisdictions than residential property, but there's a limit on how much more. So where does it go? It goes to residential property, owner-occupied property. That's where the burden shifts. So people who say, well, I have nothing to do with rent control. I don't rent. I don't rent out my house. I just live in it. I have my own house. Well, they're paying more. And then over time, you also see changes in the overall composition of the housing market. You see reduced housing affordability and availability. Those are long-term consequences that also put a squeeze and change the property tax burden because it affects the value of the remaining real estate. But this big immediate effect, and this effect that you see, is just a shift in burdens from these now less valuable rental properties towards homeowners. And that's what the paper quantifies. We walk through in a number of jurisdictions. We look at what the effects are for different types of houses. And it's going to vary by jurisdiction based on the rental concentration, based on a lot of factors. But the bottom line is, if you own, you pay more.
To read the full study, Rent Control Raises Taxes on Homeowners, visit fiscalalliancefoundation.org. The Fiscal Alliance Foundation is a nonpartisan, nonprofit 501c3 organization. Visit our website to read more about our alternative energy policy studies, sign up for important email updates, make a tax-deductible contribution, and follow us on social media.